greatest of joy, I welcome Pauline Coghlan into studio. How are you?
Great, thank
Pauline
you.
works down in the Wynn Business Park, and she's part of the Work for You Plus Youth Development Program.
That's right.
And shall I just tell them what it says here? Because this is a very good leaflet.
Great.
How does it work? Are you between 14 and 20, in need of extra support and training, unable to make the most of your skills? The Work for You Plus program will improve your confidence, develop your skills, realize your potential. It's good. And that's happening. It says here assessed approximately 100 young people to date.
Yes.
Now, that's to date from when?
Well, we're in the second year of the programme at the moment.
Second year?
Yes. And our initial targets for a 3-year programme was 60 young people.
60 a year?
No, 60 for
altogether.
3 years, yes.
So you've done 100 so far,
Yes.
and you're only starting your second year, so to speak.
Well, we're almost completing our second year.
Yeah.
But we've exceeded our targets. Of course, we had to get permission from our funders to allow us to do that, but there was such a big demand and need for it.
And look, the demand is for, may I read this to the folk? Structured training program with modules covering a range of topics, team building with improved confidence, mind mapping for personal growth, employment skills, employability skills, work experience, on-job support, evaluation with the employer, special occupational skills, taster sessions, enterprise skills, run your own business ideas generation, sourcing, products production, volunteering, cooking, art, citizenship. And you've what are the 25 local champions and 25 business placements?
Well, we've 25 local businesses who have all agreed to help and support us on the programme, and they take the young people in for the work placements. So each young person has 10 days work placement in whatever sector that they're interested in pursuing their career in, just to let them get a little taste of the real world of employment. And it means that, you know, this vicious cycle, you hear people saying, I can't get a job without experience, I can't get experience without the job. Well, at least they can say they have done 10 days and can get a sort of a reference.
And you also, Pauline, reach out to young people who have been a wee bit at the edge of society.
That's right. If they're at risk in any way, then they are our main focus, obviously. They are our main catchment for the programme. But you hear the term NEETs talked about a lot. It's not an employment, education and training, but there's quite a wide spectrum of needs. You have university graduates who can't get jobs just because of the climate at the minute. Well, we aren't really so interested in those young people. We're more interested in those at the other end of the spectrum that maybe aren't so academic.
You had your reference group meetings with Dave Weir of NIACRO, the impact on young people who are involved in criminal activity at a young age. Dr. Gavin Davidson, the impact of childhood adversity and the later outcomes. And Michael McKay, Dr. Michael McKay, adolescent alcohol use and the role time past, present and future plays in alcohol use behaviours. You're covering the whole spectrum, aren't you?
Well, we're just trying to create a much better awareness of why young people maybe behave the way they do. It can be because of adversities they've faced in their life. It can be frustrations and all sorts of things. Maybe because, they've been caught getting up to a little bit of mischief and it has really affected their future. Or like everybody dabble. A lot of young people nowadays, it's almost the norm that they'll dabble in a little bit of alcohol tasting and whatever at a young age. And sometimes it goes wrong for people. So really, that's what we're trying to do.
The greatest thing ever I did, and I did it at 17, was to spend a week drinking, there's stuff called vodka. I spent a week drinking it with orange. And then I spent 2 weeks with my student accommodation going round and round and round. And I never touched it again.
There you go.
In all of the years since, and that's 53 years since and more. Goodness gracious! But anyway, you're there. You're at the cutting face. In reality, where do the people come from to you? How do you find your clients, so to speak?
Well, we're in partnership with Bernardo's, SELB, and React. And the Newry and Mourne Enterprise Agency is the lead partner. So initially we started out taking referrals from Bernardo's, React and the SELB, but the SELB expands out into such a wide range. We get a lot of young people who are in alternative education or are in their sort of later years of education and have become very lacking in motivation and aren't really engaging.
Yeah.
So that's usually where we get them from.
And does society, if you weren't there, society is allowing these young people to drift?
Unfortunately, I think so. Yeah. And I mean, it's just, there is a bit of an image with some young people, possibly because of the dress and the hoodies that are the style and the fashion. But I think people are wary when they see a group of young people maybe hanging around a corner simply because they've nothing else to do.
Yeah.
But because they're dressed in hoodies and that, it can intimidate some people a little.
Well, I think it can, you know, and there's ample evidence to support that they're not all goody-goodies.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
You know,
yeah,
well,
yeah. But there
so.
are a lot of young people who are, just need a little bit of help and support and get shown a new direction.
Yeah.
And once they
What's
get
your
that
function
chance,
in the organisation?
well, I am the program manager for the
Wow,
program.
you're the top cat.
Yeah, well, that's my title. But I attend all of the sessions with the young people because I like to get to know them, know what their needs are, and at least then we can sort of tailor the work that we're doing to meet their needs.
And Pauline, is it your experience that I know they might seem to come willingly, but can it be at the beginning a bit of a vexation to them because they're told to go?
Yes.
And it's only when they begin to interface with you that the whole thing starts to make sense to them.
Very
Do you
much
see
so.
the moment of trip over?
Not always, but sometimes, yes. I mean, although we have assessed 100 people, we certainly haven't worked and completed work with 100 people. I would say probably about 65-70% of the young people will complete the programme. There's always some fallouts. They'll come along at early sessions, try one or two, and some people think, oh, this isn't for me, and we don't see them again, even though we try very hard to get them back. But unfortunately, there are just some young people who will take a little bit more specialist work really to get
Now,
them.
when you say you assess young people, where does that assessment end up?
Well, the assessment, the reason for the assessment is obviously we need to find out what the young person's experience is, how they feel. So it's a very soft type of measure of where they are when they first come to us. And then we assess them again at the end so that we can see if there's any change.
But you're not reporting into a great vault of Big Brother.
No, absolutely
who will say,
not.
Johnny there, he has not done well, so there's a black mark against him for that. No.
No, absolutely not. And we tell all the young people this, it's all very confidential. We're data protection and confidentiality, the whole works. So no, it doesn't go any further than ourselves. But obviously because we're a funded programme, we have to have some measure of reporting back.
Absolutely. Pauline, among the young people you deal with in Newry,
yes,
is it possible to say if there's one main issue that causes them problems?
Well, I think life in general seems to cause a lot of stress to some young people now. There's a lot of pressure around exams and GCSEs.
God forgive parents. You know, they can do some awfully stupid things. So exams, pressure on from everyone, peers and parents, the two P's.
Yes,
the
absolutely.
three P's,
Yeah.
pressure, peer and parents.
I never thought of it that way, but yes, that's pretty good.
So that's one of the things.
Yeah, so obviously every person has different issues. We don't necessarily ever know exactly what the reason for the issue are. Some are a lot more transparent than others. But they are facing difficulties, and some of it is simply academic issues, you know, with others it's a bit deeper than that.
Could it be perhaps in the future that schools could do more in, first of all, doing the kind of assessment that you do when they come to you, and as a consequence of that assessment, saying that those boys there, those girls there would benefit from a little bit of extra work, extra conversation, maybe counselling or whatever?
Yeah. I mean, yes, I agree, but schools are under a lot of pressure as well at the moment, you know, and they do that to a certain extent in that they send some of their, very few, but they do send some of their young people to alternative education organisations where they will get a little bit more one-to-one, because sometimes just a child doesn't get on well in a large school environment and they need that little bit of one-to-one. So the schools do it to a certain extent, but again, it all comes down to budgets and money and pressures, targets that they have.
There was me, innocent abroad, thinking it all came down to people, but it comes down to money, and that's what it is, because you're given so much money to do you the 3 years, And you've got to tick the box or you not get
Absolutely.
refunded, you know, not come again.
Yes, but we are very lucky. The big lottery, our funders are very flexible, and because initially the programme that we applied for the money for, when we got to work with the young people in real life and realised that some of the issues and trials and challenges were slightly different, we were able to go back to them again, and they allowed us to be a little bit flexible with what we do. So
well, that's good. That's good. You have a good relationship, therefore, with those funders.
There is.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah. So, can young people, if I'm a young person and I feel disadvantaged in some way, if I feel under pressure, can I sort of, having heard this morning, come down and knock on your door and say, hello, can I chat to you?
Well, certainly I'll chat to any young person, but obviously, because we have very limited spaces, we do try to take people who are in real need.
Yeah.
So it'll depend, obviously, on their circumstances and adversities, and usually it's by referral.
Yeah. Have you seen, I love the word usually, because
Yes.
that proves you're human. Because I hate, no, it must always be by, but usually, that's nice, usually by referral.
Well, we have had one or two sort of walk-ins. So
Have you come across, Pauline, young people who are on the edge of, let's say, on the very edge of their ability to continue living, young people who were at some risk from the possibility of suicide?
yes,
Wow.
Yeah.
You've seen that?
Yep, I have indeed. And we refer them on to specialists.
Yeah.
But again, you know,
Without, obviously, without no confidentiality will be broken, but how does that kind of, in the situation you know of, how did that present itself? What is the mannerism of the young person who is going in that direction?
well, this particular young person was always quite distressed initially, and then when you talked to them about certain issues, became more distressed. And as time went on, after a few sessions, we realised that they had been self-harming, and another discussion one day took
Goodness
us to
gracious.
So can be very, very challenging, but very, very rewarding.
Absolutely. If you were able to intervene there and cooperate with the young person, and I think cooperation and partnership is the phrase.
Well, we're actually trying to develop much better joined up working with a lot of the agencies, and this is one of the reasons for our reference group meetings, where we bring in the specialist speakers and we invite a lot of other organisations along to hear. And
Yes.
as I say, the main aim of that is to develop better working relations among us
Pauline
all.
Coghlan, I am so pleased that your organisation exists.
Thank you.
Thank you, because what you're doing in our community is monumentally important, and I really thank you for that. It's Pauline Coghlan there from the Work for You project at the heart of Newry. We'll say farewell to the people now, I think.
Thank
Stay
you.
with me until we do that. Pauline, if you would.